and welcome to Gender Attic. Let's see if everything's working. It looks like it is. So I'm going to be your host, Allison, and with me is Doughboy, Godcat, and Telemnar. Hello, and welcome to And Gender I have Attic. To see if everything's working. There we go. Get everything. Sorry for the delay. I had some issues with Restream not picking up the things properly, and I'll be sorting that out with Brian later because he understands this and I really don't. But anyway, today we are going to talk about the standard male fantasy, the SMF, and how it is absolutely the worst thing to ever happen to women, how men shouldn't be allowed to have it, how it's despicable, etc., etc., etc. The usual things. And with us, not with us actually, but I'm going to be using Shoe on Head's recent video, which covered a anime called Josie, the Tiger, and the Fish, which itself sort of presents a standard male fantasy, which essentially what happened is someone on Twitter, the bastion of sympathy and compassion and all things good in the human race, tweeted out like a little compilation of some of the romantic scenes from Josie, the Tiger, and the Fish, and described this as something that most men would appeal to most men. And if you don't know, the story is about a caretaker of a paraplegic girl who he takes care of her. He shows her things that she's never seen before. She seems to enjoy it, and there's little cute romantic moments. How romantic we'll discuss, but you know, it would be wholesome in some ways to some audiences, but of course Twitter is not that audience. So Twitter of course responded with the usual horror, but we'll get there. All right, so let me just switch on my things and let's begin.
Money, status.
Wait, let's begin at the beginning.
Men. What do they want? Money, status, fast, expensive cars. What is the ultimate male fantasy? Is it fame, fortune, 3 hot chicks at once? Haha, hell yeah, brother. No, according to men on the internet...
Are we supposed to be able to hear Shoe on Head as well? Because I do not hear her.
Oh boy, we already have our first technical difficulty.
Second.
Third. Actually, third. My God. And no void cat in sight. You know what the problem is?
We've lost count.
You know what the problem is?
If you eliminate if you eliminate everything that is impossible, whatever remains, however unlikely, must be the truth.
There we go. You should be able to hear her now. Let us begin from the beginning, folks. Eventually we'll get there.
Men. What do they want? Money, status, fast.
How's that?
I still can't hear it.
You gotta join the stream. Have you guys joined the stream? I created a stream in Discord that you got to join.
Yes, okay. I'm watching on the stream.
Yeah, you don't hear it? Okay, then that is Discord. It's not me, and I can't help you.
Yeah.
What do they want?
We'll just watch it
Money,
on YouTube.
status, fast, expensive cars. What is the ultimate?
Okay. Oh, I know what it is. Discord insists on having you use its broken YouTube feature. You know that thing that we've been struggling with for the last 2 years? The activities YouTube? Yeah, okay. Well, you guys are just going to have to open it up and follow along on YouTube. I apologize.
Male fantasy. Is it fame, fortune, 3 hot chicks at once? Haha, hell yeah, brother. No, according to men on the internet, it's something a little more simple. This is literally just a fetish.
Right, very hot right out of the gate. Oh man, how are you guys doing? I guess probably having a very difficult time of it. I could try again. I will try again. Sorry, guys who are listening on the stream. Very much apologies for the technical difficulties and the problems we're having here.
Pretty messed up, but we can all follow along in a separate window and just watch the YouTube video and be at the same time. It's no big deal.
There really should be no reason why you cannot hear the sound, unless it's simply unless
Discord
it's
gatekeeping.
Discord gatekeeping.
Have you checked OBS?
It's not going through OBS. It's going through Discord. This is not. It has nothing to do with Discord. Nothing to do with OBS. I've opened up a video in Discord, and it's not playing the sound for you.
Allison?
Yeah?
Could you turn on the closed captions, perhaps?
Hey, actually, that's a good idea. All right.
Thank you. I do sometimes have those.
Three times.
Surprised.
Okay, let's start it again. Hopefully you guys have plenty of comments to this.
This is literally just a fetish.
You know, to lesser mortals it would be wholesome, but to the galaxy brain on Twitter, literally just a fetish.
I fucking hate men so much.
Because men don't have a problem being caretakers to somebody who is disabled. Like, or actually having a romantic interest in someone who's disabled. Like, we watched the movie. The guy isn't into her because she's disabled. And I don't want to say it's rather...
Initially, he is definitely not into her at all.
Yeah, like he's not into her. They make it very clear in the movie that he's not getting off because she's disabled, right? They make that excruciatingly clear. But oh, good Lord.
Men are why we can't have nice things.
Could you okay, there's channels on YouTube of attractive women who are in relationships. I'm thinking of one. I think the man has muscular sclerosis or something, and he's wheelchair bound. And I dare anyone to find somebody on the internet who looks at a relationship between a woman who is, you know, traditionally attractive and a man who's disabled and says, "I hate women."
But the word for that is incel.
As I was working...
Probably.
Incel.
Somehow.
Incel? Like, the woman is an incel? But what I'm saying is that you're looking at a situation where it's it's a woman taking...
Yeah, they're just insane. I understand. It's just, I don't understand it at all.
On an upcoming video, I made the terrible mistake of logging onto Twitter, where I saw this post. A montage from the anime Josie, the Tiger, and the Fish. a movie about a college student who's assigned to take care of a paraplegic girl, and spoiler, eventually they fall in love. Many men were posting in the replies of this tweet and talking about how they wish to fall in love and would love a relationship like this, while many others, mostly women, were absolutely f***ing disgusted at this. Why would a bunch of men be fantasizing about being with a woman in a wheelchair? Seems pretty creepy and predatory, right? Also just unrealistic and problematic. Well, in this video, we are going to be talking about why so many men resonated to that clip and this movie, and why so many people are so confused as to why.
I don't think they're confused. I think she's being really charitable. I think there's just this compulsion now among a certain subset of people to have the worst interpretations of men's actions and men's desires, and it's deliberate. It's like, I mean, what do you expect from the individuals who cherry-picked history and ignored all of the times that men have sacrificed for women, provided for women, all of the benefits that women have gotten throughout human history, and have declared that the predominant relationship between men and women throughout history is oppression? You're already looking at a group of people who have terminal cherry-picking-itis. Yeah, sorry about that, Alex W. I figured out what happened. I'll eventually get used to this new, lots of screens, lots of stuff going on. Okay, let's keep going.
We're also going to be reading some absolutely unhinged tweets, as usual, to get to the bottom of why such a wholesome post turned into, once again, another battlefront for the ongoing, never-ending gender war. Men, tourist of all the tourists.
Okay, so I just skipped over the ad for her shaving company. If you do want to support Shoe on Head, you can go to this video and click on the shaving ad.
In fact, I basically
or the link to the shaving company.
Know nothing about anime. I am probably the most tourist of all the tourists. Yeah, hi. I have a question. Was the upskirt shot necessary in order to advance the plot? I watched Pokemon and
always yes.
Sailor Moon when I was a kid, and a few years ago I watched Beastars on Netflix. Legoshi, best boy. Not a furry, by the way.
Okay, so why is it, just give me a second. It was just stuck on...
And honestly, that's about it for my anime consumption. Unless you're counting VTubers. If you're counting VTubers...
Alright, what you doing here, bud? My OBS is doing strange switching stuff.
I watch a lot of anime. But because of this clip going viral, I watched Josie the Tiger and the Fish, and, well, I thought it was a good movie. I recommend watching it. I thought it was a really cute, good story. I only cried a little bit. And I completely understood what the tweet meant by calling it the average male fantasy. So, what was wrong with it? Why did this clip go so viral in such a negative way? Why were thousands of people angry at this post?
Twitter is for anger. I mean, even cute puppy or kitten videos always have the obligatory "you're abusing them, you are a horrible person" posts. Like, it's just, it seems like judgment and anger go hand in hand with Twitter or Exeter or whatever the heck it's called. But also, this basically hit a nest of terminal misandrous.
Well, let us dilly-dally no longer and read some of these angry replies to get a better understanding of what the issue is, shall we? Wholesome male fantasy, and it's fetishizing a disabled girl for him to control. Oh!
For him to control. Like, she spends almost the entire movie bossing him around constantly. She's explicitly put in control of him, and he does what she tells him to do all the time and puts up with actual abuse and like genuinely being insulted, being given laborious punishment, make work tasks, having water thrown on him. I mean, it's not horrible stuff. She doesn't stab him or anything. This is Japan, not London. But I mean, he has, and then he encourages her to spread her artistic wings and make friends and go out and do stuff. Like it's the opposite of what they've just described.
100%.
As this is insane.
Yeah, this is not him bossing her around or controlling her, and it's not a power fantasy at all. The first thing, I think one of the first things she makes him do is count the knots in a straw mat. So he's sitting there for hours counting them, and if he loses count, she makes him restart. Like, she absolutely is. To be honest, it was at some point you really didn't like the girl at all.
Oh yeah.
Like,
and if this is a fetish thing, then let's just say it's going the other way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. If this is fetish, then it's the opposite of what the internet apparently thinks it is. All right, go ahead, Godcat.
I just want to say that there are restaurants in Japan that are basically tsundere maid cafes. I'm just throwing it out there. Yeah, the servers are tsunderes towards the patrons.
Well, I know what I'm doing for my summer vacation.
Off to the glorious Nippon.
Oh no. They think, oh God, why? Always vulnerable, always happy, always needs you. Pretty perverted.
What?
Always happy.
Pretty perverted.
Well, she's always vulnerable, happy, and needs you. That's pretty, but she's not always happy. She proves she doesn't always need him. I mean, I don't know what always vulnerable means.
Yeah, it just occurs to me. It occurs to me that they will defend themselves by saying that they're referring explicitly to the montage and not the entire piece, even though the montage represents the entire piece. But and by they, I mean, is there a difference between the average single woman and a feminist now? Or is basically that me saying a single woman feminist redundant? I think it's probably redundant.
Where are these fan
cells? I don't know what the percentage is, but I was going to say at this point, saying someone is vulnerable is just become the dumbest buzzword. It could mean almost anything.
Oh, yeah, everything's working just as you asked that. The void cat entered the picture.
Oh no.
Oh, we are on borrowed time, friends. Borrowed time. Okay.
Fiction's coming from. There were like hundreds of tweets just like this. Why did they see a cute montage of a happy couple, a man and a woman happy, together? I know, unheard of. Why did they see that and then immediately come to these conclusions? Like, as someone who actually watched the movie, Josie is not always happy, and she's absolutely not portrayed as some, like, vulnerable...
She's almost never happy. Actually, becoming happy is part of her growing up. But then again, the individuals that were upset at the montage might not actually appreciate the actual movie, because Josie becomes happy as a result of her relationship with a man. That has to be like a level of hell for these people, these individuals.
And partly she also becomes happier because he helps her become a better person.
Oh, that's an even deeper layer of hell, Telenar.
Ooh-woo sex doll waifu. She's boisterous, she kind of has a foul mouth, she's very sassy and headstrong.
That's putting it very lightly. Honestly, the only reason why I allow it in that movie is because she improves by the time they're technically in a relationship. Because if she hadn't, I think she could seriously be considered an abuser. And it's not cute.
She like straight up calls him her servant, but she was also very depressed. She basically never left her house. She was basically a girl failure. As a former girl failure, I love to see representation in media, but they actually show her disability like not.
Ruby, could you
Yes.
okay, I'm gonna kick you. Sorry, it's nothing. There's no offense meant. All right. Sorry about that, guys. This is being recorded in the patron Discord, where some people can pop in if they wish, but if they don't mute themselves, then they must be leaving very quickly. All right, let's keep going.
Not in a good way, like they don't romanticize it, they don't sugarcoat it. And I noticed, unlike a lot of movies, unlike a lot of romance movies, at least like the Hallmark kind, where it's like the stuffy male lead learning to live life from the quirky, cute female lead, he's already got his shit together. And she learns to live life from him.
Yeah, that's the fact that she she actually appreciates him and learns something from him is actually really nice. And I don't know if he qualifies as a manic pixie dream girl. Also, Ruby, the other problem is that you are sort of disturbing the whatever. Okay, hitch on board. This stream is gonna start looking like a train in Mumbai. Okay, let's keep going.
A train with no brakes.
He encourages her to live her dreams, and in return, he learns to live life in a completely different way. And I thought that was really cool and sweet. Also, the animation was really good. Is anime good? Have I been sleeping on anime this entire time?
No, it's terrible. But anyway, yeah, it was I think it was a little too over the top in places. Personally, I mean, we can get to that when we discuss it after we look at the controversy, but I think it strained itself a bit. In terms of its sentimentality.
Fantasy is that she becomes permanently disabled and helplessly dependent on him, but can still make him a sandwich. Sounds about right. Oh my god.
Are you... Like I said, these individuals, I think they're paid to interpret things in the worst way possible if a man does it or likes it.
After watching the movie, these tweets are even more insane. But even putting the movie aside, just seeing that like cute montage out of context, where the fuck?
If you
don't... where the fuck does that come from? It comes from, as again, like just the same people that look throughout history and look at all of the stuff that men have done and see oppression.
Clearly just two happy people. But because the caption was the average male fantasy, their mind immediately goes to the darkest, worst faith interpretation of this. The problem is these people can't see any humanity in men. They can't see any humanity in humanity in general.
Yep. 100%. Average male fantasy, girlfriend with no agency who's completely dependent on you and forced into blanket subservience and compliance. Sounds about right. You males are weird for fetishizing physically disabled women. And again, the worst thing was that this woman was just enjoying his company. And happy. And I don't recall even in the montage that she really did anything for him, like make a sandwich.
Male fantasy equals girlfriend with no agency who's completely physically dependent on you and forced into blanket subservience and compliance. Sounds about right. You males are weird for fetishizing physically disabled women. Average male fantasy is having a physically disabled girl that they can abuse however they want. Got it. Not to be that guy.
Where was the abuse? Even in the montage. Nowhere.
One interesting thing about the movie is that she, the things that she does, well, first of all, in other romance films, like at some point you turn a corner and the female lead starts displaying her interest in the male lead by trying to cook him a meal often, do something nice for him. And this one was different because one of the nice things she does, for example, is she goes to the library with him and they learn about some books together. And then she does try to read a story to the kids, and she's very bad at it. And then she draws the underwater castle of the Little Mermaid for the little girl. The little girl's curious about how it looks, and so this impresses him and makes him feel good and happy because she's actually doing stuff as opposed to being stuck in her little house being cranky all the time. And so the thing that she does for him is not make him a sandwich, and it's not be subservient or make him tea or make him a sandwich or give him a massage or whatever. It is that she starts to contribute to other people and starts to reach the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is what is it? Fulfillment, not self-expression, not fulfillment. Somebody remind me. Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Self-actualization.
What's the top one?
Self-actualization.
That's it. Yeah, she starts doing that. So he's literally just impossible. That's the thing that she starts to do that makes him happy for her and then makes them start to get along better. Indeed. So really, we're just making the male character look even better and more saint-like. He's too good for this world.
He's too good for her. Well, I mean, she does improve. And then she also challenges him when he loses what made him happy or what gave him purpose.
I'm gonna be that guy. The infantilization of the physically disabled here is a little, dare I say, ableist. The implication here that people in wheelchairs cannot find love, and if they do, the person who loves them literally just loves them because they can't run away. Weird. Average men can't even be nice to their healthy and normal girlfriend. What makes you think they'll be able to handle a disabled person as their lover?
Which is really interesting because men are more likely to take a disabled woman or to consider disabled women as romantic prospects relative to women considering disabled men as romantic prospects. This is, go ahead, Godcat.
He only wanted me for my wheels.
Okay.
Whoa. Normal? What do you mean by normal? These people are just so ableist, chat. Can you believe it? Chat? I don't even live stream. Who's chat? I'm disabled, blind, so I showed this to my boyfriend. He says, I love you because you're you, and you make my days happier. So what if I have to drive you places or help you with cooking and cleaning? I would have done that anyway. Disability has nothing to do with it. I love you. Ma'am, I don't know how to tell you this, but, your boyfriend is a rapist. Sorry you had to find out this way. You show this as fan.
Wow, that escalated. I'm curious about the logic behind that. I guess she might be applying the logic of the people who are actually judging this video or this montage from this story. She's applying, like, she's going to interpret everything in the worst possible way. I'm surprised she got away with the rapist word.
Fantasy because it's not true for the majority of men who participate in abuse of disabled people. No, the fantasy is the woman appreciates his efforts to make her happy. Stop lying and abusing women and the disabled. You're med.
Okay, Void Cat, stop! Sorry about that. Void Cat just voided.
How to beat the heat if you're struggling to stay cool.
Okay, alright. So, Void Cat just basically decided to destroy the stream by changing where it... Okay, here we go. I think this is...
Character, having fun together, being in love together, and being like, rape! He's a rapist! This is a fetish! Are these people okay? Stop!
Oh, it wasn't Shoehead. She was quoting someone. My boyfriend cares about me and takes care of me and isn't concerned about the things that he has to do to make sure my life is okay because I'm disabled, and it's not about the disability. Oh, he's a rapist. This is really sick.
Watching porn. Wait, this is a woman. Okay, stop reading Taken by the Werewolf Billionaire. Or whatever the fuck you read. I swear to God, some of the shit women read would make the most depraved internet gooner blush. Or so I've been told. This is literally just a fetish. Okay, listen, I'm not gonna pretend there's nobody out there who's like, she can't run away, she has no legs. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend there's nobody out there who has a crippled, disabled fetish, okay? I've been on the internet for 20 years. I've been on DeviantArt. I've seen shit you wouldn't believe. But the majority of people, probably most, if not all the people responding to this, do not have a cripple fetish, okay? In fact, her being in a wheelchair basically has nothing to do with it. Much like how females coom over, like, vampires.
Okay, so here's the thing. The people who are talking about this eventually, because they're usually a cabal, and I know where they come from, the female dating strategy and radfem subreddits, or radfem hives, but they point out that men, or they say, which is not actually true, but they cite actually she gets into this later. They talk about how men abandon women who have critical illnesses. That's not actually true. But if those men didn't abandon them, they would then say that those men are with those women in order to control them, in order for those women to be completely dependent on them, and they can't run away, and then they can enact their wicked abuses as they twist their mustaches. You know, that there's, no matter what a man does, he cannot be right in the minds of these individuals. Oh, good Lord. Let's watch a little bit more.
Or, like I said before, the billionaire werewolf fantasy. This is just the average male fantasy distilled down to its most extreme. So what is the average male fantasy? The average male fantasy is the fantasy of both men and women alike. It is simply to love and to be loved. But more specifically, the male fantasy is to be a protector and a provider for those that they love. Put a pin in this because we are going to come back to this in a big way, trust me. The average male fantasy is being a globally known terrorist.
I think the anarchists have come into chat.
That is the average female fantasy, is to have a male who is a globally known terrorist. We all know they were into Luigi and people like that.
Yeah.
The average male fantasy is that a woman who isn't fat. The average male fantasy is actually job security. You know what? These guys may have a point here. Pedophile alert. Men want disabled child wives. Average male fantasy is a disabled child. More proof that men are pedos. That's a little girl. This is weird.
Yes, he's 22, she's 24. And again, maybe you can't tell that from the montage, but it's also anime. Like the thing is that don't you notice that the young men are also depicted in this incredibly doll-like fashion?
So, first of all, she's literally older than the guy. The guy is 22 and she is 24. In anime years, he is practically hag-maxing. And yes, she may be physically disabled, but aren't all men mentally disabled in their own special way? At least the ones in my audience. They will freely admit this. Maybe she, the older woman, is taking advantage of this sensitive young man. Have you ever thought of that?
That's a good interpretation, actually, considering how this begins with a lot of abusive commands by her towards him.
She looks like an 11-year-old child. Where are her breasts? First of all, really weird way to say that. She looks like a child. Show me her titties. Also,
that's a good response. Indicate to me this woman is not a child. Boobs and vagine. Bobs and vagine, please. Oh, good Lord. What did I do? Void cats.
Get all day 12-hour hold plus 5.
It's an ad. It's an ad. Ugh, good Lord. That was a cave troll eating corn.
She must have slept with a lot of people to have so many ads.
Oh my God. Okay, here we go. Let's see if I got to the right location.
as if that wouldn't make you crash out. Like back in the day, you'd probably see like one fine dame on your...
All right.
End of story. Women fantasy. A boyfriend with depth. a weird way to say that. She looks like a child. Show me her titties. Also, I love how, like, when anime women have huge boobs, it's disgusting, Coomer brain or whatever. But if the anime woman has small boobs, she is a child and you're a chimo.
Sorry?
The subtitles are off.
Oh, my gosh. All right, here.
Can't fucking win. Also, if she had big boobs, they'd absolutely be like, wow, look at this sexualization of the disabled. Also, you know, like, adult women can be flat-chested, right? Like, that actually exists in real life. Like, adult human women can have small boobs. We love all titties here on the She One Head channel. All titties is good titties. End of story. Women fantasy. A boyfriend with depth and the loving, soft, deeply caring side of them. Men's fantasy. 12-year-old anime girl who looks and speaks like a toddler. Also notice how she's literally the shape and size of a child.
Show that previous tweet.
Men's fantasy?
Right. Well, yeah, women's fantasy, a boyfriend with depth and a loving, soft, deeply caring side of them. Well, okay, so this gives you the woman's fantasy. He's got depth, he's got interests, he's got friends, he's got a really cool hobby that also keeps him trim and fit. Let's not put too fine a point on it. And as soon as she stops being a feral,
Ghoul?
biting, horrible, bitchy, nasty person to him, he turns out, and in fact, kind of before she stops doing that, he turns out to be deeply caring. And then as soon as they actually start to like each other, we find out that he's both loving and tender and gentle and soft and all that stuff, except that he probably has a swimmer's build, so he's also firm where it counts, lucky her. So this literally, the male character is highly desirable for any woman who is not absolutely cooked and is okay with dating a 22-year-old who looks like a doll. He's probably not nearly masculine enough for Allison's taste, for instance. But
come on, anime does do that. They're very stylized. What I'm trying to get at is, you can't judge them by like regular human standards. It's a very stylized form of artwork.
Also, men's fantasy, 12-year-old anime girl. She is literally 24, and she doesn't look like how 12-year-old anime girls look. Who looks and speaks like a toddler. Where does she speak like a toddler? She speaks like a horrible, bitter person at first, or at most, or of a toddler. Like a toddler who is both precocious and constantly having a sulky tantrum for the first scene or two where we meet her. Like, we're not. That is just the most dishonest representation of this that I can imagine. Anyway, I will mute now.
Speaks like a toddler. Also notice how she's literally the shape and size of a child. Yuck.
Go ahead, Doughboy. Oh, I think Doughboy wishes to speak via Telenar. Yeah. So.
Yes, he wants to use me as his puppet, but that's okay. Maybe I'm into that. Anyway, Doughboy says, men's fantasy, to save a woman tied to train tracks by a maniac. Women's fantasy, to be tied to the train tracks by the maniac. Yes, and then the maniac does things to her. And then the train comes, and right at that exact moment of... Well, anyway, let's not get too detailed here. We are trying to keep it YouTube friendly.
Have you people ever seen a child? No, you're all childless. Silly me. She's not even that short. She's just sitting. See, like when they're laying side by side, she's like a full-grown adult woman. Why do these people look at this and immediately think of child rape? Go to therapy. And listen, I know with anime it can get a little weird, right? Like, excuse me, Poo Poo Pee Pee Chan is 2,000 years old and this is Poo Poo Pee Pee Chan. But this does not even look like a child. This looks like a cute woman. This is like a random rant, but I feel like there are no more cute women.
Okay, there will be no random rants here. She basically rants about how modern women are all hot. Release the
for cooking, cleaning, and sex. Women's fantasy gets treated like a queen and a man who keeps tracks of our periods so he can take care of.
A woman who is useful. That is such a sexy fantasy. I didn't read the rest of the tweet.
Okay, men's fantasy, a big titty woman with the face of a 16-year-old and is useful for cooking, cleaning, and sex. Okay.
I got as far as useful, and that was it. I don't even care.
Just useful for something. Delmar's like, yeah, I just want one that can fix my roof. Please. Women's fantasy gets treated like a queen and a man who keeps track of our periods so he can take care of us. Really? Are you fucking kidding me?
All right, I'll put this in my dating profiles from now on. It's ladies, I just want to track your period so I can bring you chocolate at appropriate moments. I'll open with that. They'll love it.
Do you really want
That
a
turned me
woman
on.
who's going to respond to that though? I mean, I swear to God, if a woman who
If
will
she comes back with a joke, then possibly that wouldn't be a good indicator, actually.
Okay, but I'm just saying that in general, the type of woman who can fix your roof is not going to respond well to, I track your period and bring you chocolate at appropriate times. Like, ugh.
I'm definitely not being serious when I say that. Don't worry.
I know. I'm not even being serious either. We're many layers of not serious here. But the other thing is,
Oh yeah.
The other thing is that how did someone write this and think that the women's fantasy compares better to the male fantasy here? Because what you're asking for
Gets treated like a queen. Like, okay, well, in exchange, can you have big boobs? Aren't you supposed to have big boobs? Otherwise, you don't look like an adult woman or something.
Your guy doesn't want to be a
like,
pedophile.
is that good or bad?
But gets treated like a queen. What does that make the man? A serf? Right? Useful for cooking, cleaning, and sex. How is it that when a man wants a woman who cooks and cleans, that's degrading women, but women who cook and clean professionally, who appreciates a woman who can cook and clean, like who's willing to support a woman who can cook and clean for him, right? He's willing to make sure that she has a good life and a living wage, enjoys her life. And yet the same people will turn around and say that if the cooks and cleaners are not paid as much as garbage men, they're being underappreciated. So is the skill of cooking and cleaning underappreciated or overappreciated? Because it looks like in the men's fantasy, what they're arguing is that a man overappreciates cooking and cleaning. Like, okay, but don't you want those
Homemade
things?
food tastes like love.
Yeah, unless I make it.
Or charcoal sometimes, if something bad happens.
Unless I make it, in which case it tastes radioactive.
Us. I think I speak for a lot of women here when I say our fantasies do not, in fact, include men tracking our periods. Personally, if my husband was like, honey, just a reminder, you're in your luteal phase, I'm taking the kids. Men like to pretend they want this, and then they beat their wife when dinner isn't ready or their son when he's misbehaving.
What the that escalate? Okay. This is a delusional argument. And it's one that we've allowed women to make for generations now. First of all, men who abuse anyone are a minority of men. Second of all, women are doing their share of abuse. So, okay.
First of all, I'm sorry that happened to you. But there are in fact good men out there. I've seen them. Some may be in this very audience.
Yeah, there are more than just a handful of good men out there. Most men are good. Like, vast majority of men. I would argue that there are more good men than good women. I'd go there. I would say that. And the reason why I would say that is because men have constructed an identity in which their gender identity, being a man, is contingent on protecting and providing for women. And if they've done this consciously and they've selected this by choice, then that says very good things about them and about their relationship to the opposite sex and their expectations of being responsible for the opposite sex. Not sure I can say that for women.
Sorry.
Which is maybe why we see so many women with these bad faith interpretations of men.
I couldn't keep a straight face. This is the shoe on head audience. You're all gremlins. Male fantasy equals a woman that can't run away from him. A woman that's dependent on him. Interesting. When men are involved, it's basic survival instinct to assume the worst. Men are guilty until they prove themselves innocent.
Yeah, let's take a look at that. When men are involved, it's basic
so,
survival instinct to assume the worst.
No, I think it's the one immediately after this. Or before it.
Okay.
Male fantasy, a woman who can't run away.
Yeah.
Yeah. A woman who can't run away from him. A woman that's dependent on him. Well, first of all, the woman that her being dependent on him is initially shown as a burden that he has to be paid to take on because he doesn't want to, but he's desperate for the money. And he's drained and miserable after the first few shifts. He's meeting up with his friends and saying, oh my God, I can't stand this, but I need the money. And then she can't run away from him. I mean, at one point in the movie, she literally does just go away and they can't find her very easily.
Yeah.
I mean, so, I don't know.
Yeah, it's complete bullshit.
A woman that's dependent on him. Interesting. When men are involved, it's basic survival instinct to assume the worst. Men are guilty until they prove themselves innocent. You know what? I take my opinions back on free speech. I changed my mind. No more free speech. No more free speech until you bitches learn to behave. A woman's fantasy is a man who won't rape her, and a man's fantasy is raping a woman.
Okay, can we pause? This is projection.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so.
Much more accurate if you flip the genders. I mean, oh my god.
Yes, I'm pretty sure there are far many more women who... No, I know for sure that more women fantasize about being raped than men fantasize about raping. Yep. And if anything, men are more likely to fantasize about being taken roughly, like a snoo, than they are about raping women. So this is total bullshit. Total and utter bull. It is projection. It's somebody who has a discomfort with what she actually fantasizes about and is blaming men for it. Because that's what you do.
I'm sorry, where is the rape, ma'am? Maybe that's how you see it, because you're brainwashed to hate men. So true. I hate how, but in reality, women are the real demons here. Oh, god damn it.
My husband begged me to...
Just wait a few moments and it'll say skip in the bottom right.
Yeah, I know. It's frustrating. I should get an ad block, but...
Oh look, more misogynistic gooner fanship.
I'll just go back.
Hate how, but in reality, women are the real demons here. Oh god damn it. We just want a happy relationship. Is it so much to ask for?
Her grandmother are
Yes.
a little demonic at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, they are
But not
pretty...
very.
Well, I don't know. I guess the sexual assault of the man by the grandma was a little bit disturbing. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand why they couldn't just show her like poking him in the chest uncomfortably or something.
Yeah.
Like, it's the Japanese. They're not supposed to, like, they're creeped out by the idea of shaking hands. They stay 10 feet away from each other and bow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then she goes right to just grabbing him by the dick and threatening to cut it off for no particular reason either. It's like, why did you do that? And of course it's completely unremarked upon. But you know, like unlike Shoe on Head, I will call women demons.
Yes, it is. Oh look, more misogynistic gooner fantasy slop written by misogynistic gooner men. This is why 70% of anime is garbage.
All they did was kiss. The entire freaking... In fact, I complained about that. I'm like, he's went through all of that and all we got is a kiss.
So, here's the thing, that, misogynistic gooner fantasy slop written by misogynistic gooner men was actually written by Saiko Tanabe, a woman. A woman wrote this story. And I feel like a very important detail everyone is sleeping on when they covered this was the fact that this is very much the female fantasy as well. A man loving... Years ago...
Shoot. That was my fault.
That's...
Men.
That was entirely my fault. Well, a little bit. I'll let Void Cat take a little bit of the credit because she jumped at me while I did it. I think this is 100...
I was going to say, the woman, the person who wrote this was a woman, and the person who directed it was a man, so this horrible misogynistic gooner idea comes from a woman, and the good thing that we got from that idea was given to us by a man. So everybody's wrong except for the honey badgers.
Excellent.
Female fantasy? Is this not the knight in shining armor coming to rescue you? Focus on your skin's health. What really sets Henson apart is their engine.
That was Void Cat. That was 100% Void Cat. I don't know what she clicked on the keyboard, but that was Void Cat. Okay. All right, let's try to find where that was again.
Coming to rescue you and falling in love with you? Why on earth are so many women so mad at this? Are men now the hopeless romantics? Are men now the ones yearning for a fairy tale romance? Is this why all the Disney remakes are like, she's not gonna be saved by the prince, she's a strong, independent woman? Meanwhile, men still want to be the prince, men still want to be the knight in shining armor. Men are like, I will save you from your monotonous 9-to-5 job. I will give you a house and babies. And women are like, no, I must be an actuarial consultant. Be gone, vile misogynist. Is that What is occurring here? Oh.
Yeah. Although I wonder how much men really were the ones, I mean, that we considered them the non-romantic, the ones who didn't want to settle down. But was that really the case? Do we know that for sure?
Also, that aside, there literally is a gender-swapped version of this story called Perfect World. It is a manga? Mango? I don't know. Do not come for me, weebs. Men will statistically leave their wives and partners.
Sorry?
The subtitles.
Oh, right. Sorry.
The moment they find out they're disabled or have a life-threatening condition. You're right, it is a fantasy. Actually, that study was debunked by the authors themselves, who admitted they did the math wrong. It's actually not much higher, but then again, even if it was, and it happens, I've seen it happen to people, it's terrible. Marriage should be through sickness and through health, but that's not really the point here. And the fact that so many people—
The heck? Oh, we're buffering. All right, so I actually looked through these studies. I'm not sure, maybe it was debunked, but or the individuals withdrew or put a comment on their study. The one that I saw was basically they accused them of p hacking. So what that is if you don't get the results you want, what you do is you reduce the size of your sample size. So if you find that actually, for example, women are more likely to leave men if they have a critical illness, then what you do is you reduce the critical illness that you which one. So instead of just looking at cancer, you look at MS. And if you don't find it with MS, you look at, I don't know, some quadriplegia. It's just something, right? You find a subset of the overall sample that shows what you want. And that's what they did. They cut it down and cut it down and cut it down until what they found was that among couples with a particular type of aggressive cancer, men were more likely to leave. But that was only because they cut that out, that piece out, and said, hey, we found what we want. And if you actually look at how they report it, that's exactly what happened. And then there's other studies that don't find that at all. And then there's also... Go ahead.
Oh, okay, thank you. I was going to say one of the more famous studies about this topic had an error in the code that was summarizing the data that they accumulated, and it accidentally counted divorce and leaving the study in the same category of people. So if you just stopped replying to the study for whatever reason, it counted that initially as a divorce from the caused by illness of some kind. So that was just literally just wrong. They just did the code or the math wrong, incorrectly. And so that one got retracted. But that, I think that is one of the major ones from which this idea springs. And of course, the truth is running around the world the lie is running around the world 10 times before the truth has got its boots on.
Yep. Okay, so I did something weird here. All right, there we go. Let's keep going. No, it's still buffering. What the hell?
Through sickness and through health. But that's not really the point here. And the fact that so many people...
Okay. Oh, I wonder if we can continue with this. This has just decided to buffer.
You might need to refresh the page.
Yeah, that means we'll probably lose all of our... yeah. Oh, no, it brought us...
What?
Go ahead.
I dare.
Anyway, so...
We'll have to skip this, but we could just say, well, we were at about 10 minutes. I mean, you can just look at the time that you're on and then just go there.
Yeah, let's see. Okay. Yeah, right here. We'll go here.
Female fantasy too? Is this not the basic female gender-swapped version of this story called Perfect World? It is a manga? Mango? I don't know. Do not come for me, weebs. Men will statistically leave their wives and partners the moment they find out they're disabled or have a life-threatening condition. You're right, it is a fantasy. Actually, that study was debunked by the authors themselves, who admitted they did the math wrong. It's actually not much higher, but then again, even if it was, and it happens, I've seen it happen to people, it's...
Also, if it was seen as higher, I wanted to do a clarification. Okay, so in the study, for whatever reason, the women who ended up in these situations where they were dealing with critical illnesses had shorter marriages, and they had started like they had started earlier, like they were of shorter duration, so probably they were divorcees for whatever reason. Don't know why, but this wasn't a controlled sample, so you weren't actually comparing people, women who had gotten seriously ill, who were in relationships that were comparable to the men who got seriously ill. So when they reported this, they're actually finding that women in shorter relationships who've probably been divorced prior and remarried and were critically ill ended up, the men left. And it wasn't that the men left, that it was the relationship ended. Okay? And it was assumed because the woman was critically ill that the man left the woman. That might not have been the case.
Terrible. Marriage should be through
Also,
sickness.
It might also have been the case that due to how laws are set up, I think many of these, maybe all of these studies were done in the U.S. There are situations, I think, where if you are married, you can get you have access to fewer benefits, and insurance policies don't treat you as well and so forth as someone who's divorced.
Yes.
So you have to check to see if they just got divorced and then kept on living as normal, because of course we have a disincentive for humans to pair up throughout our legal system, and some people just say, well, we're just going to play the system for what it's got for us.
And through health.
So you
But
have
that's
to
not
keep that in mind too.
really the point here. And the fact that so many people are focusing on the wheelchair part of this just proves that they just don't get it. The ones of pure mind and pure soul get it, but these fucking semen demons out here, they don't get it. But not all semen demons. The amount of people in comments who just don't get that men want a cute, loving girlfriend is beyond me. They call them creeps for wanting actual love and not a girl boss who only wants your money. Ah, thank you, a sane person. Hopefully the replies aren't full of people calling her a pick-me. Pick-me alert. Least obvious pick-me. Me, pick me please. Hope he picks you, sis. Pick me, pick me, pick me. An incel could have written this. Fuck. Why are so many VTubers either pick-me's or racists? You mean why do so many female VTubers disagree with you? Why so many aren't towing the mainstream liberal feminist NPC line? Because they can. See, the most powerful weapon women have against other women is social ostracization. You don't want to be seen as a pick-me or a racist, so you keep your mouth shut in order to survive in female social circles. But in the cases of VTubers, virtual YouTubers, they're basically anonymous. They can say anything they want. They're basically wearing a mask.
She makes a really good point here. This is something that I mentioned on one of the streams I did on Pearl's like secondary channel that she was going to start with like a whole bunch of other people. And one of the individuals on that panel just really pushed back on it, because I said a lot of what we're seeing is actually these conflicts between women, like toxic jealousy between women, women controlling other women or wanting to control women in how they behave towards men, and that kind of thing. And the individual is like, no, it's just how, you know, women's nature and that kind of thing. I'm like, no, this is women who are pretty much like, what we're seeing is absolutely toxic, quote unquote, sisterhood. It's women tearing each other down, women engaging in incredible jealousy and destruction of each other's relationships, and also policing each other's behavior. And she's right. Like a lot of, and I've read comments like men will say, well, why don't you call these women out? And women will say, because we're afraid of them. And that's exactly it. They're afraid of the kind of consequences. And it's actually very, I think, unique to find women who just don't give a fuck about the opinion of other women, because that's almost like it's existential suicide for a woman to be excluded from the group. So you have to be pretty unique. But at the same time, as all of these women are herding together, they don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to call each other out for their behavior. They evince this kind of toxic sisterhood, this kind of herding. The same time as they do this, behind closed doors, they're destroying each other. And they're engaging in all kinds of like jealousy, destructive manipulation, actually poaching each other's partners and relationships. You know, it's it's sort of hideous, and I think it's because one of the big things that these... Are you playing the game, Cat? Did you... I swear she has some kind of preternatural relationship to technology. She just started the game. Okay, anyway. So she just... A lot of what these traditional moral systems did is they controlled these conflicts between women before they spiraled out of control and destroyed a society's ability to reproduce itself or its culture. All right, let's keep going.
We're not done. We're not done yet. Speaking of conflicts between women, that also has relevance to the movie because it does feature a conflict between a couple of women who are fighting over a boy.
My god, the reverse bitch though.
They're free from the chains of the eternal HR Longhouse. But apparently even being anonymous online does not save them because they still get doxxed for simply not hating men. Lovely. Maybe I should save this rant for a different video someday. Moving on. Men are why we can't have nice things, by the way. First of all, men make all the things. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Also, I just realized it was a man saying that. It was a whole-ass man saying men are why we can't have nice things.
She got a point. At least in this era. Men are the ones who make the nice things. Go ahead, Telnor. Or don't. Okay, let's keep going then.
I don't deserve this.
I disapprove. I was going to say I disapprove of this scene because clearly you, Allison, are the number one pick-me.
Oh, there might be a looks component, so let's keep going.
Trophy, this is for you, sir. This is for you. I'm not worthy. Listen, I make women jokes. I'm very critical of feminism and propaganda aimed at women. But you will never catch me in a million years saying some shit like women are why we can't have nice things. I have a mom. I have female family members. I have female friends. Maybe one day I'll have...
Hell, I will. Women are why we can't have nice things. Actually, not specifically women. Women with no accountability are why we can't have nice things.
Have a daughter. Women make the world a beautiful place, and like men, can be flawed and deserve criticism, like anyone else. But there's something genuinely so cucked about people who put down their own gender or race. Oh god, race. Self-hating white people. Don't get me started on self-hating white people. Ability of my offspring being mentally or physically retarded. And you're...
Oh, for God's sake. Jesus Christ. YouTube, you have too many ads.
Log off. You are unwell. I'm sorry, but when I reproduce, I don't want a high probability of my offspring being mentally or physically retarded. We need a better class of incels whose bar is higher than the retarded. She's not retarded, she has a spinal injury that's not genetic. Also, what is this LARP? I love how everyone is just kind of having like a normal conversation about this clip, and this guy just comes out of nowhere like, I would never put my pure white seed in such a vile creature. Like, you absolutely know this guy has a non-white girlfriend. They all these like, I hate white people women always have white boyfriends. All these, I hate non-white people boys always have non-white girlfriends. I don't know what it is, but I've seen it too many times. I guarantee you when this man logs off of his Black Sun Roman statue Twitter account, he's clapping Latina booty cheeks. My fantasy is not being a simp, but okay. Fellas, is it simping to love a woman? Nah, this is not the male fantasy. That man is a beta male. If she wasn't in a wheelchair, she would leave him for Chad. Fellas, is it beta to love a woman? This is not my fantasy. This is some gay shit, to be honest. Fellas, is it gay to love a woman? What no pussy does to a motherfucker. Brother, I've seen what pussy does to a motherfucker. And it's far worse. The average male fantasy is taking care of their crippled wife. I don't think I've ever had that fantasy before. I thought it was going to be about going on some quest to kill the dragon to win the princess or something. It is. That is the average male fantasy. But there are no dragons to slay. There are no princesses to save. But there is that little old lady in the grocery store who can't quite reach that top shelf. There's that heavy box the pretty girl you work with can't quite lift herself. There's that jar of tomato sauce your wife can't quite open. There's that Lego set your little son can't quite put together himself. Or there is this paraplegic girl who wants to see the ocean. This is the Princess and the Dragon story. And despite what many are told, men do have a lot of love to give. And they want some kind of excuse or mechanism to show that love. In a world where men expressing themselves is either seen as toxic or gay. And one way of expressing that love is solving problems.
Yeah, she got a point. Like, I honestly think the guys who are pushing back on this are probably just being facetious, maybe. What do you guys think? I'll throw it to the brain trust.
the bad things that the men said were generally way less awful than the bad things the women said.
Yes, definitely.
This is not a very representative sample, probably, but like none of them said, "Oh my God, she bit him. She's a horrible, evil. She's probably going to murder him in his sleep," or something like that.
Yeah.
Men fucking love solving problems. I don't know what it is. They also love reading Wikipedia articles. The amount of times I walked over and my husband is reading a random fucking Wikipedia article about like the world's tallest buildings or like a random battle in World War II. I didn't know if this was autism or what, but apparently it's a man thing. Anyway, yes, men love solving problems. And in a world that makes them feel useless, makes them feel like they have no purpose, men desperately feel like they need to prove their worth. They are desperately looking for a purpose in life. So it is not at all shocking to me that the modern young man is seeing a clip like this and longing for this.
Well, I honestly, I don't think that you show this to somebody, some man in like the 50s, and he's going to be horrified by it. Probably would. I think this is an eternal thing, is what I'm getting at. Men wanting to solve problems is something that men, you know, it's a constant throughout the ages, which is one of the reasons why men oppress women is such bullshit. Yeah, right. Men oppress women until the first moment where she can't open up the amphora, and then suddenly, well, can I help you, dear? Okay.
A lot of modern men don't have a chance to prove themselves, to make something of their lives. They don't have a chance to provide anything for anyone because they don't have anything to provide, and they don't have anyone. They are doing everything their grandfathers.
Okay, this is depressing. All right, do you guys want to continue? Because this is starting to get into the summation rant, and I think we're done with all of the Twitter chaos. And yes, I agree. Men are not as evil as these women are trying to make them out to be. And I can see why men get resentful. Some of those guys get pretty resentful with women, and apparently their expectation to simultaneously regard men as the worst evil ever, and also expect that worst evil ever to drop everything to go help them the minute that they squeak. So I can see the frustration mounting there. But all right, let's so that was the Twitter fracas. How do you say that word, by the way? You must know, Telenar.
I might. It's pronounced fracas.
Fracas.
Silent S because it's a French word.
Freaking silent S's, they're always getting me. Fracas. All right, so that was the internet fracas. Let's shall we discuss the actual movie and the fact that it's rather flawed, to say the least. So this would be the discussion of Josie, the tiger, and the fish. Telmer, you want to do a brief summary? Are you up for that, or shall I?
Yep.
Okay, because you got the better
certainly.
voice.
Oh, thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay, so, yes. So, summary of Josie the Tiger and the Fish from 2020, set in the current day in Osaka, Japan. So, this guy called Tsuneo Suzukawa, or Suzukawa Tsuneo-san, is a university student who's studying marine biology, loves his fish, and he works part-time at this store that sells what I think it's diving equipment or something like that, and then has a kind of a meet cute with this disabled girl who gets her wheelchair accidentally pushed down a steep road, and she loses control of it, and he kind of grabs it and gets in the way and saves her. But he doesn't so much grab the chair. I mean, she kind of bumps into him, and he kind of catches her. And then, I mean, one detail is that he doesn't know what's happening. He just sort of catches her so she doesn't get hurt. And then she immediately, not a minute later, literally bites his hand hard to get him off of her and calls him a pervert, which is kind of ridiculous. But anyway, and then her grandmother, who catches up with her and is her caretaker, invites him in as a thank you to have some food. And there are some funny moments where the girl alternates talking about this stray cat and him as if they're the same person. Because, just, oh, he's just here for some spare food. And then he says, well, then have you been feeding the cat regularly? And she said, I was talking to the cat. Just being very insulting and rude, which in Japan especially is a no-no. So the grandmother hires him to become her caretaker. She just pays him to part-time, just look after her, do what she says, basically be her little bitch initially. She is extremely controlling and negative towards him. She refuses to be in the same room with him. We mentioned this before, orders him to count, I think it's all the reeds in the tatami mat on the in the living room of the little house. It's just horrible stuff. And let's see. Let's see. Their relationship starts to grow when at one point she makes an escape. She tries to get out of there, and he has to chase after her and kind of saves her a little bit because she is trying to get away from him by crossing some train tracks, or it's not exactly train tracks. It's a rail car or whatever you call it. And he says, "Look, why are you doing this?" Because I should actually go back and clarify. Her grandmother already specified, you have to keep an eye on her while I go out to drink and play pachinko, which is a form of gambling old people in Japan really love. And then you are not allowed to leave this house, no matter what. And of course, she does do that at one point. And then she says, it's just a beautiful day, and I want to see the sea, and I want to see if I still remember how it tastes, and things like that. And then he is 100% okay with this because he, of course, also loves the sea. He loves going diving and things like that. And so he takes her to the seaside. They go together. And, oh my God, I keep forgetting. Well, he also, her grandmother actually asked him to go after her when he went and got her at the train tracks, because her grandmother noticed that she was gone and became very panicked. So that he calls her grandmother, and he tells her, yes, she's fine. We'll just go out to the seaside. She just wants to enjoy the nice day. And then she comes back. Eventually, she comes back. So they go out to the sea, and they have this very emotional moment, and she's determinedly crawling towards it. And we later discover one of her last memory of her father is when he asks her if she remembers what the sea is like and how it tastes and how salty it is and things like that. And so they have this big breakthrough, and he helps her out by helping carry her to the seawater, and they splash around in the shallows a little bit. And then they come back, and the grandmother is very angry with him, and she says, how dare you do that? But he kind of stands up for himself a little bit, but not very much. And then he winds up staying on as the caretaker. And they have yet another adventure, which is that they go to the library, and some interesting things happen, because so far we've seen her interact with her grandmother and with Tsuneo, her caretaker, and she's been very, what the Japanese call tsundere, which is kind of angry but affectionate, except in her case, so far there hasn't been much affection. But then the moment she tries to interact with someone who is not him, who is under her control due to her grandmother or her grandmother, but she instead interacts with the friendly librarian to pick up a book by a preferred author whom the librarian is also a fan of, she becomes extremely shy because she's not used to going out and talking to people. So she becomes very kawaii in that moment and very cute. And then, of course, becomes angry again because she's insecure about how shy she is and how difficult it is for her to talk to people. And let me see. Yeah, so they also have another interesting moment at the library, which is that she tries to read this story to these kids, because the librarian, I think this is they come back to the library. Like, they have some other moments where they go out, but then they come back to the library on another day, and the librarian says, hey, I'm too busy to read a story to these kids. Can you do it? And she says, okay, but then she does a really bad job of it. She's clearly just reading through the story as quickly as possible, very flat voice, and all the kids just get up and leave, and they're bored. And it's a story which is basically The Little Mermaid. And then this little girl who was in the audience, asks her, what did the what did the underwater palace of the Little Mermaid look like? And then she goes into the next room with a little girl, and she just starts drawing a really cool looking imaginary palace. And this is a sort of big breakthrough moment for her, because she starts doing something with her art, something for someone else. Because as we discover at one point when Tsuneo didn't realize she wasn't there and sort of looks around her room, she has tons of art, and it's all drawings of fish and the ocean and whales and things like that. So not only does she love that, but she loves art. Those are the two positive things about her that we've learned. Those are her hidden depths. And so and then later she discovers that her caretaker Tsuneo works at this shop that helps that sells like diving equipment, and he goes swimming regularly and checks out schools of fish and knows all about them. And so she becomes more and more enamored of him because it's so cool that he loves the same thing that she loves. They share an interest, and they can go to fish aquatic zoos, and he can talk about all the fish because he knows all about them. And she just thinks this is the coolest thing ever. His version of autism meshes perfectly with mine. This is wonderful. And there's a complication because everything's going great, except, well, actually, there are a couple of complications. So one complication is that Tsuneo, her love interest, is going to get a scholarship to go overseas and study in Mexico and be away and be gone. And he hasn't told her about this, but it might happen soon. And the other complication is that one of Tsuneo's co-workers has the hots for him and is very jealous of Josie, or Josie, or however you're supposed to say it. And there's a certain amount of rivalry on both their parts. It's kind of funny. We'll maybe talk a little more about that later. And then about 2/3 of the way through the movie, her grandmother has a heart attack. We have a funerary scene, and Josie is determined to hold out for herself and to do what she decides. And she decides that she is going to get a job as an artist, and that's how she's going to make money and make a living and pay for the house and herself. And she's very stubborn on this, but the local housing co-op or whatever it is, they're a little concerned about that, and they want her to have a miner to come over, and they say you should give up on this impractical dream and you should get a job in an office or something like that, get a real job. And what the coworker, the female coworker, the jealous one, says, you need to redeem yourself and set Tsuneo free. They kind of track her down and talk to her about this, because, well, he's always worrying about her, and she kind of wants Tsuneo to not care about this wheelchair girl and care about her instead, and have his cool time in Mexico and come back and basically be her boyfriend instead of Jose's boyfriend. Anyway, after this happens, she and Tsuneo have an argument at the beach because that's where they like to meet up. And then she goes back to get out of there because she wants to just go back to her place. And then her wheelchair gets stuck in a hole in the road. And then Tsuneo, we see that a car is coming, and Tsuneo runs after her, and he gets hit by a car, and it's pretty significant. He has a broken bone and a broken shoulder, a broken leg and a damage to his shoulder, sorry, to be precise. And this makes it difficult for him to walk and swim both. So when he's stuck in the hospital, he now hits a massive low point because this could endanger his trip to Mexico, his studies generally, his ability to go swim and see the fish. And this is his professor even comes over and says another student will go to Mexico, and he figures it's over for him. And he kind of gives up and isolates himself in his hospital, so doing what she was doing with her grandmother, except he's in hospital. And at this point, the jealous coworker visits Josie and tells her, I deserve Tsuneo more than you, because I know him better. I know everything he likes. I care about him more than... I know him better than you, and I care about him more than you. And this is kind of an attempt to get her to break up with him so he doesn't have the additional burden anymore. And then Tsuneo is trying to start his rehabilitation, but he's extremely demoralized and discouraged and depressed and not doing well. And at one point, his other friend from the store comes and picks him up and gets him to the library. And then we see here that Josie is reading a new story to the children, except this is one she's made herself, and it's called The Mermaid and the Radiant Wings. And this whole thing is an allegory, and she is the mermaid, which is fine because mermaids don't have legs. And the radiant wings refers to the wings that this tall, handsome angel has, who swoops in and helps her with stuff, including rescuing her from a dangerous tiger, even at great danger to himself. And Tsuneo thinks this is the most amazing thing. She's going out there and she's being an artist and she's reading to these kids and she's telling this story about how wonderful and amazing he is. And he basically, it's a shot in the arm for him, and he gets back into his physiotherapy and is really serious about it. And he finally gets discharged from the hospital and goes back to meet up with Josie in her house, and he finds that she's gone. She's not there anymore, and it's like she's packed up and moved out. It's very strange, and there's no note or anything like that. And so they run around the city searching for her, and then Tsuneo figures, wait a second, the zoo, that's where we saw the aquatic stuff. Maybe she wants to go there. He goes there and spots her wheelchair tracks in the snow and chases after her. And it happens to be in the right place where, once again, she gets bumped into by a careless stranger and tumbles down the exact same hill, I'm pretty sure, as when they first meet. And he saves her yet again because she is a total klutz with no survival instinct. And then at that point, they hold each other and they look into each other's eyes and they say, oh my God, we love each other. And then they kiss. And she says, I want to be a storybook illustrator. And he says, cool, I want to be your boyfriend, which will probably pay about as well. And then what's going on? She says, what's going to happen with Mexico? And he says, I'll go there and then I'll come back. And then because I love you so very much, and I don't think there are any paralyzed Japanese chicks in there. And then she says, that's cool. And then they hug again, and it's there's happy music. And then the credits start, and we see that Tsuneo has traveled to Mexico and then come back. And he meets up with her and says, yeah, the trip to Mexico was great. So that confirms that happened and was a happy ending there. And we also see Josie getting the house demolished, which in the Japanese cultural context is kind of like she's moving on and doing what she should be doing because they don't like to have old houses that are hanging around forever. So she's moving on and obtaining closure from her grandmother. And that's the end of the movie.
Okay, thank you for that summation. It actually made it seem a lot more magical than I actually found it, to be honest, Telemnar.
I skipped out a couple of things. We can detail about how the granny was kind of...
Yeah, like we usually, with the Writers Retreat group, we go through various points. So plot, character, theme, tone is also really critical. And dialogue, but usually we don't necessarily go through it because dialogue is very subjective and it's not really... You got it or you don't, really. Was there another... Okay, it's and setting. Okay, so, I mean, we could go through all of that, but I think the big problem that I have with this particular movie is that the girl is really nasty at the beginning. And her grandmother is actually also really nasty, and it's never really addressed. I'm not sure if she ever really apologizes to him for being such a dick, It was better when we understood why she was so upset, but at the same time, as she starts off this relationship being overtly abusive to her potential romantic interest, and I don't know, for me it wasn't charming, it wasn't cute, it was actually actively unpleasant. And like I said, I don't recall her actually going through the process of apologizing to him at any point. And I recently watched another movie which is almost identical in premise, except it's a Korean anime, and it was called Lost in Starlight. And I actually think if you're gonna watch a movie of this nature, which is sort of about two people falling in love, one maybe is more reserved and is a little bit like, hurt by something, so they don't want to get in a relationship or has other reservations, and they have to deal with being parted. I would really recommend Lost in Starlight. The basic premise of that movie is the woman is an astronaut in training. She may be going up into space, but at the beginning of the movie she's been cut, potentially because of her mental health issues, which are not severe, but they are sort of borderline. And she meets a man who repairs old equipment or old musical stuff, or like turntables, and is also himself a musician. And they pursue a relationship, even though at the beginning she's very hesitant, even quite cold, to the point of almost to the edge of abusive, except it's saved by the fact that why she's having these issues, and it's because she doesn't want to get in a relationship because she's hoping to go into space, specifically to go to Mars. And then we find out that one of the reasons why she wants to go to Mars so badly is because her mother died on Mars in a previous expedition. And it goes through all of that, and it feels to me to be much more heartfelt and really hits its emotional points a lot better. Although I do have a bit of a problem with its structure. It's not very linear. This one, like Josie the Tiger and the Fish, is fairly linear, so I'll give it props that it's a clear narrative, whereas Lost in Starlight tends to jump around a bit, so it can be a bit confusing. You really have to be on the ball in terms of the timelines. But I feel like that one really hit its emotional notes a lot better than Josie the Tiger and the Fish. Part of the I think this movie over-torqued its emotional bits, and that turned me off. I think it could have played it a little lighter and it would have been a lot better. I feel like it didn't completely earn its emotional moments. I think part of it was, again, I think it would have really improved a lot of this by simply having a scene where she breaks down and apologizes to him for her behavior and explains all of the stuff she's going through, maybe makes a blank slate, but actually treats him like a human being, because it feels like he's treated like a human being, but only in relation to her emotional gravity, if that makes sense. So he's treated like a human being because he's infinitely forgiving of her. He's treated like a human being because he's caretaking. He doesn't have really a nasty bone in his body towards her, and it just feels like, I feel like he should still be seen as a human being if he gives her a big fucking slap in the chops, to be honest. And what I'm being presented with is that the only reason why he's still seen as a decent guy is because he doesn't live up to, or he doesn't respond to her behavior in the way that it honestly deserves, and it, again, it just feels like he's so passive in that way, which I mean, it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. He certainly isn't, but men shouldn't have to be saints in order to be good. And that's really what it comes down to, at least with this character in this movie. Do you guys want to add anything to that?
I don't have much to add. The memory of the movie is fainter for me than it is for you because that has been a while since I watched it last. Um, all I can really say is that I thought that the climax with her reading the book based off of him to the kids, I thought that was very heavy-handed.
Yeah, I would agree. It was incredibly heavy-handed. I would have much preferred a quieter scene with just an apology from her. That would have gone a long way to recognize, like to present the fact that she knows what she did was wrong and her behavior towards him. I mean, yes, you can explain why she's doing it, but she needs to take responsibility herself for being such an appalling control freak towards this guy. And the less said about the grandma, I didn't find the old grandma's sexual abuse of the young man to be charming or cute or quirky. It was just disturbing. And in order to continue to watch the movie, I just had to chalk it up to, okay, well, it's anime. You know, anime does that to its male characters. It just randomly sexually assaults them. And then everybody just like, ha ha ha, look at you. You got randomly sexually assaulted by an old woman. Ha ha ha. And then you have to move on. And you just have to just sort of flush the turd and keep watching. That so I mean, that was again, that was something that really bothered me, but you know, I get used to it when I you just sort of have to accept that when you're watching anime, that there's going to be some absurdist sexual violence towards men, that it just happens, and you just got to accept it and flush the turd and move on. But yeah, I don't know. Did you guys have a problem? Did you guys have a problem with any of that? Do you want to speak up? Do you want to type up there, Doughboy, so that Telemnar can speak up for you?
I was going to say, Doughboy is typing something. I'll get to what he says as soon as it's up. Anyway, but with regards to the grandmother, I think, well, first of all, she was obviously a very secondary character, and in this show, in this movie, it was the two main characters, and then the librarian and the other girl at the store who was jealous of him. They were all much more developed than she was, and I think they were trying to go for a cranky old lady who is doesn't care about social conventions and normal politeness and is very protective of her granddaughter. And they couldn't decide between, okay, she's actually severely overprotective and abusive, or she's just some crotchety old lady who says exactly what's on her mind at all times, regardless, because she's old. She's a little old lady. What are you going to do? And if they had made it her interaction with him more moderate, like if she'd poked him in the chest or pulled on his ear or swatted him with a slipper or something like that, as is more tradition in the Asian countries, then it would have been a very different reaction. But for some reason, they went straight to, she just grabbed him, as you say, by the crotch, which is like, what the hell? So her, and one thing that I noticed very distinctly about her character was, at one point, she realizes that Josie is starting to be interested in Sundeo, and then she kind of does this little celebratory fist pump or dance or something like that. She says, I'm so happy about this. And I think they were also trying to go for the her character was they were trying to portray her as her character trying to do the strategy of being very unpleasant, such that this would drive the her granddaughter out into the world and make him look like an excellent opportunity, and so they can kind of escape her, except what they're actually doing is just making a successful life in spite of themselves. And oh, haha, surprise, I fooled you. I wanted you to do that all along. Except there was really absolutely no indication that she was like secretly giving them alone time, or strategically saying, well, if I hire this handsome tall young man, maybe he'll go outside and I won't be too angry with him. Or she doesn't cut them any slack when they do go out and go to the beach or the hotel. Like they still have to. I mean, she does say that, oh, they think I haven't noticed that they've been sneaking out or something like that. I mean, it's really it felt like it was crammed in at the last second, and that maybe they didn't have as much of that in there, and they kind of realized, oh, wait a second, this actually makes her look pretty darn evil. We need to make her character a little nicer, otherwise this is borderline horror mixed in with the romance. So I think that is kind of the impression that I get.
Yeah,
for
it's
her
an
character,
inconsistent character.
Yeah,
Sort
the
of
worst character in the story, in my opinion.
Yeah, and an inconsistent character is the worst character, period, that you can construct. Flat characters are better than inconsistent characters. Like that dude from the little the kid.
Adolescence?
Yeah, Adolescence. The kid from
Jamie
Adolescence.
Miller.
Jamie Miller, who basically is the ninja doctor lawyer cowboy of mental illnesses. He's a sociopath, narcissist, borderline vulnerable narcissist, grandiose narcissist, terrorist, and everything else. Basically, he just is a grab bag of feminist fears about boys and men, but also secret desires. Anyway.
Well, I'll say before Solomon reads Doughboy's piece, what I'll say about the whole grab by the crotch scene is how do I put this? We do tend to see a lot of scenes in anime where a girl will find herself in a very, very unfortunate accident just to show off her form to everyone. It's why there's this joke. I've seen enough hentais, you know where this is going, whenever tentacles or vines show up. So while this isn't as the same as that, I would say it's more of a comedic scene that I would let slide.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, for normies, you do have to say, it's anime.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is in a sense like how the Looney Tunes always have people blowing each other up or shooting each other or dropping rocks on each other. And of course, that's very wrong, and we shouldn't do that in real life, but we recognize it's Looney Tunes. It's a silly exaggeration. But at the same time, the whole rest of the show or movie is pretty realistic in terms of the human interaction. So that's another reason it jumps out. They really, that the grandmother's interactions in general were what they needed to fix to make this.
Yeah. And
to mostly make it to get the Allison stamp of approval, but not entirely.
well, also the big apology would have been a good one from the abusive woman, girl child.
Yes.
Or woman child.
There should always be a scene in a romance movie where the woman abases herself to the man.
Yes.
Personally, in my opinion.
That's my fetish. No, but only because she was so nasty to him. And it really, their relationship really should have started with her groveling apology by her, and then maybe saying, "Can we just start over from scratch?" And also, something needed to happen to inspire that apology in her life. Like, she needed to really realize that what she was doing was bad. Ugh. Anyway.
They didn't have time. They should have had time, but anyway. All right, so let's read what Doughboy has given us, which is, the grandmother may be another reason why feminists hate this film. She genuinely oppresses her granddaughter by keeping her locked in the house against her will. Combine that with her sexually inappropriate behavior, it made me not care about her death. But maybe that was intentional. Her granddaughter's character development skyrockets after her passing. That is true.
It could have been intentional, and then they just didn't quite know where to go with the anime. I mean, it could have been that the original story, the grandmother was considered to be sort of an abusive kind of character, and then the animators were like, we need to make this more more normie friendly. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. I wouldn't be surprised if this was actually genuinely one-to-one what the author of the original manga intended, or light novel. I don't know which.
It was originally a short story written in 1984. Interestingly, I expected it to be a manga, but it is not.
Okay.
And there was also a live-action film made in 2003. The same thing.
Yeah.
Maybe we should check that out for comparison's sake.
I'm not sure if I care that much about this story, to be frank. Does that mean?
Fair enough.
It's like, I wasn't really that touched by it. No offense. Like, everybody on the internet's like horrified by this guy being in a relationship with a woman in a wheelchair, because of course it's really about the man wanting control. I think that these individuals, they'll never do this, they'll never recognize this, but I think the problem is with them. The problem is with their beliefs about men, because no matter what a man does, they're going to look at it in the worst possible light. But yeah, this particular story, I'm not really that interested, because I don't really like the female character, and I don't necessarily like how heavy-handed, like, heavy-handed is a really good way of putting it. Godcat hit the nail on the head. How heavy-handed the climactic reveal is about her true feelings. I mean, I like the sentiment, but do it better. Like, it's just, it doesn't work the way it is.
Well, I think the problem is if you are a simp to the level that the average, especially young man is, which is, even if that's not a very high level, that's still some level of it. It's going to think, you're going to see that scene where she's reading the story and you're just going to think, oh, wow, this is amazing. I'm the hero with the shining wings, or whatever it is. Yes, radiant wings.
I mean, it was a good way of if it had been done a little bit more, if it had been supported, and maybe this is just my Western sensibilities talking and aesthetics, but if they had supported the story a bit more somehow, integrated it better, not pushed it so far, given it a bit more of a conflict or something, like that, the story within the story, it might have been received, at least by me, as being a very sweet reveal of how much the guy mattered to her. But as it is, it just felt sentimental. Okay, so
the story. You mean the story that she herself wrote? That's the story within the story.
Yeah, that's the
that
story
you're
within the story.
Okay. Well, she didn't have access to the brain trust when she was coming up with her story, and all she is an illustrator. She's not ambidextrous.
Ah, ambidextrous, or do you mean multiply talented?
I was just sort of using the word ambidextrous in a silly way. Yeah, she's not.
She's not a writer and an artist. She's just an artist. Okay, yes, fair enough.
She's not a Renaissance. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll give her.
We'll give her inferior.
We'll give her a pass because she's not also a writer. She's not of the. She's not an Ubermensch writer, of the superior species. I'm being deeply sarcastic here. Writers are frickin' gremlins. Okay, so characters. Did anybody want to say anything else about? Okay, I'll give the story props for this. The main male character and the main female character in a romance are supposed to challenge each other, or they're supposed to be essentially each other's antagonists. And I feel like it got that. It had both the male and the female grow and evolve as a result of their relationship with each other in a way that felt balanced. Now, if they had it had toned down the original Sundari bullshit, I think that would have been better. If it had addressed the problems with the grandma, that would have been significantly better. So essentially, it gets a third of the way through. I think the story gets a lot better in terms of being more balanced between its two characters. And yeah, I agree with Doughboy that in some ways the grandma came across as being both controlling and negligent, and I don't. Maybe caretakers that gamble have a worse kind of quality, or like worse kind of resonance in the West. But when I found out she was drinking and gambling, I was like, ugh, that doesn't look well on her. But anybody else have anything further to say about the characters? Nope. All right, shall we move on to the plot? The plot, it's a romance. Is there a plot? Hey, Godcat, would you consider that to be a plot?
So, like a base plot, like it's most as a romance, it's more focused on the characters. So all those events are just about developing a relationship. I cannot remember the plot. I just can remember key events. So I would say it has like minimum plot, but not much to comment on.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Like, it's just. I'm trying to think if there's anything, any kind of twist, but it's just a basic romance plot. And I don't think that there's a. If we could look at plot in terms of developing conflict or tension, I don't think there is a real lot of it. Although I have learned that there are disabled people are very much discriminated against in Japan openly. I thought the Japanese were really polite, but apparently they really loathed disabled people. And they apparently there's always when a Japanese person accidentally bumps into a wheelchair, there's always a really steep hill nearby to send the person in the wheelchair careening down. You'd think they'd be careful about that, but apparently not. So these are the two things I picked up in terms of the plot of this story. Very contrived, and I don't think it really develops the conflict very well. But again, it's romance. Romance plots are the special needs plots of the writing world. You can't expect a lot from them.
I actually have discovered something interesting during this very conversation, which is the word Osaka itself translates to either large hill or large slope, and mountains surround three sides of the Osaka prefecture, and the west faces the arc-shaped Osaka Bay. So there are lots of hills in the Osaka area. So this actually makes sense. The lore of Japan is so in depth.
You'd think that if there were a lot of hills, they would have invested in a handbrake.
Yeah. Well, also, Doughboy comments with key plot events involve two separate runaway wheelchairs that enable the male lead to save the girl. Yeah. She actually changes her wheelchair to an electric one at one point. And this is the first time it's a hand powered one, and that's when he initially saves her. And then in the ending scene where he winds up, or near the end scene where he saves her as the second time, she's in the electric wheelchair, which is heavier and has a hard time with the snow.
Yeah, but also electric wheelchair. What did the guy? You're giving a shove on an electric wheelchair. What's that gonna do? Like nothing.
Yeah, you'd have to be very strong.
Not just very strong. You'd actually the wheels are in a locked position when you're stopped. You're gonna have to literally break the brakes to get it to go anywhere. No, I don't want to think too much about this. It's just gonna make it worse. I don't want to see. I don't want to think about just how retarded this plot is. Yeah, it's romance plot. All it's supposed to do is make you feel feels, and it does in places. Like it's sweet and cute in places. I'm not gonna say it's terrible. If you can just allow for the random ass sexual abuse of the male lead by the granny and all of that other crap, and just accept that the female lead just is a tsundere and is never held accountable for that, and just go with it, then it's cute. It gets a tear here and there. It's sweet to see. I think the climax is that story within the story where she finally reveals just how important that guy is to her, and that's sweet. I can't sniff at that. If you like that kind of thing, you're gonna love this. If you like really, really, really sweet desserts, you're gonna love this. If that's your thing. If you prefer a more savory taste, you are not going to particularly enjoy this. If there's a lot of contrivances.
But there are a lot of very lonely people in the world who would look at that and think, oh my God, if some girl made a story where I was the radiantly winged angel, that would be the most amazing moment of all time for me.
Oh, so Alex W.
A lot of people are going to go for the sweet.
is doing the laughing face at tsundere. Is that how you pronounce it? Am I pronouncing it wrong?
Yes.
Tsundere.
Yes.
Tsundere.
Yeah,
Close enough.
you're pronouncing it correctly.
Okay, fine. I'm done. I want
Tsundere.
to. Don't even bother me with Japanese words. I can barely manage English. Polysyllabic English words are my curse. Okay. Wow, the special chat on my channel is actually much kinder. They're like, oh, they're giving me compliments. It's terrifying. What are you guys up to? All right. So we did characters. We did plot. It's a romance. The plot is contrived. It exists solely to hit emotional beats that everybody knows and wants. It's a mass-produced, I don't know, Black Forest cake. It's incredibly sweet. There you go. If you like that, you're gonna like it. All right, tone. All right, again, I'm gonna go back to, you're right, Doughboy. There's moments where, was it Doughboy or was it Telemnar? There's moments where it starts to feel a little more horror before they pull it back, like with the.
I was the one who mentioned a horror. Yes.
Yeah. So before they pull it back with the grandma. I think you're right. That's why you get that inconsistent character. Now, it's not so bad with, as you were saying, like an extreme side character who's not very well developed. But she is an incredibly inconsistent character, and it does revolve around the tone of the anime. It starts to move, a lot of her behaviors start to move it towards horror or psychological horror, and then they just, like you said, it seems like they were like, oh, gotta pull back on that. And then they made this abrupt shift in her character towards being like the crotchety, but secretly really wants the best for her granddaughter kind of character. So yeah, there's that inconsistency in tone there. I think it also comes through a bit in the character of the female character, the tsundere, is it Dairy? Tsundere?
Tsundere.
Tsundere. Okay, look, my accent's only going to go
We
so
all know
far
what
with
you
this.
mean, so let's just go with it.
I'm trying.
Ride the lightning.
Tsundere.
Dere, yes.
Tsundere. Dere. Okay. I'm trying. It's just, there's a lot of R's and A's in there, and I'm from the prairies, so I do have a bit of an accent. All right, so that whole sort of kind of personality style of the tsundere is, it sort of breaks the tone. And it would have been nice if they were trying to go with, like, we're setting something up and then we're sort of shifting it into something else. But then that would need a pivot point, and I think that would probably be a reveal of an apology by the girl that her behavior was not acceptable or something. And that itself would have to be inspired by some event that occurred to her that made her reconsider her behavior. So yeah, those tonal shifts bothered me. How about you guys? What do you guys, any thoughts on the tone?
My memory of any tonal shift is too dim for me to comment.
I think the tonal shifts come with the sort of character inconsistencies. Anyone else?
Yes.
Do you think I've covered it? Shall we go to theme? Okay.
Yeah, well, Doughboy is typing something, but
Yeah.
we can go ahead and he can finish off his typing.
All right. So I think we covered, I at least those are the tonal shifts I found. After the beginning, it really shifted deeply into sugary, not like sweet, light, until the accident, and then it became much more a little bit dark there for a bit, but that's the way it's supposed to. You're having kind of the dark night of the soul in your story. Even in a light, sweet one, you usually do, and then you have the uplifting music, Eye of the Tiger, and he's doing. It wasn't Eye of the Tiger, guys. That would be too cool. But he's going extra into his rehabilitation because she inspired him and that kind of thing. So I mean, it's the rest of the tone follows very well. It's just that abrupt shift and is mirrored in the inconsistencies in the characters in the female main and the grandma. All right, so I can't talk anymore about tone. We're going into theme. Sorry, Doughboy. We'll deke back into tone if you finish your epic statement that you're writing. Theme. All right, so theme, generally you can figure out theme because it can be stated by a character somewhere in the story. So the example I use is the Star Trek movie that we watched a while back that was done by the Family Guy, the guy who did Fast and Furious, right? That was the last Star Trek, probably the last one they'll ever do. One hopes. But the theme essentially was stated by the female admiral who was in control of that particular orbital city, and she talked about getting lost in space, like mentally lost in space, and she was talking to Kirk because he was thinking of retiring as a space captain. And then you go through a whole bunch of stuff, and at the climax, the pivotal decision, what ends up making the people involved in the climax face the conflict, face the adversarial force, whatever it is. Isn't always a person. It can also be a thing. The thing that they have to resolve in themselves to find the inner strength to face the adversarial force is usually related to the theme. In this case, let's see. I don't think that the theme was stated by anyone initially. Did you guys pick up any theme being stated by like a side character or anything? And if I were to look at it in terms of the just think about that and respond after I'm done. If I were to look at it in terms of the conflict was resolved by the main male character finding it within himself to overcome his own fears of failure, or not being able to walk, or not being able to do the things that he loves. And then also the main female character throughout the story, that was what was driving a lot of her pain and suffering and her depression, was that she was also afraid she wouldn't be able to do the things that she loved, or be able to pursue the things that she wanted. So I'm guessing that the theme of this is overcoming adversity to continue to pursue your dreams. That's a pretty generic theme. What do you guys think?
Well, overcoming adversity, would overcoming fear be better? Because we initially have the very distinctive statement by her grandmother that the outside world is dangerous and full of tigers, and you have to stay in the house where it's safe. And then they do go out and they do see the world, and there is danger, and they encounter it. But they ultimately overcome the consequences of encountering the danger in the form of the cars. And also at one point, running out of air, actually, he gets sloppy and forgets to have enough air in his tanks or fill them up correctly or something like that when he's diving. Mm-hmm. So the overcoming of fear specifically, perhaps?
Yeah.
Because in the story, in the story itself, remember the evil thing that attacks the mermaid and that has to the radiant winged angel has to save her from is once again, it's a tiger. That's calling right back to that.
Okay, go ahead, Godcat.
Just saying, I agree. That seems to be the most likely.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're right, and I didn't consider the effect of the story on the character. On the
There's
actual.
A little savory in there, it seems.
Yeah, a little bit of savory in there. Well, I didn't say there wasn't. It's just that I think that it's just too much sweet at points. but yeah, yeah, you're probably right. It's and also the contrived wheelchair, electric wheelchair. Somebody in the chat says 150 pounds. Yeah, that's not, it's not gonna move. It's 150 pounds, and it probably has a electronic brake. Okay, so that thing is not going to be pushed down a hill anytime soon. But so the theme then becomes overcoming the tigers in the world, or not even the tigers, the fear of the tigers in the world. Okay.
You have nothing to fear but fear itself.
No, you got other things to fear. But yeah. Okay. I think Doughboy's still writing.
Speech by FDR.
I know.
He got it.
He got it.
He has finally.
All right.
Yes. All right. So Doughboy comments for tone. Outside of the horror vibes that the grandmother emits, the tonal inconsistencies are a byproduct of the film's melodrama. 2 wheelchair accidents, a love triangle, and a role reversal between the male and female leads. Yes, the reversal. I'm inserting my own words now here, but yes, the reversal is when the male lead is hit by the car and he now is in the hospital and can't walk and is having all these difficulties psychologically, and so suddenly he's in her shoes and he's handling it very poorly. And look at me, I'm the tsundere now. Anyway, and returning to Doughboy's comment, the theme is earned optimism, perhaps. The female lead learns to embrace her artistic dreams because of her love. The male lead overcomes his nihilism regarding his injuries in order to have a chance at recovery. The female best friend confesses her feelings, but admits she'll get over it.
Earned optimism. Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, that's another good possibility for the theme. Okay. Dialogue. Was there anything good in dialogue, do you guys think? I mean, we watched
the dubbed version. We can't have an opinion.
Oh yeah, that's right. No, yeah, that's right. We watched the dubbed version, guys. The dialogue was crap, and that's what we expected.
To be fair, I watched the dubbed version the first time too. I had trouble figuring out how to set up the Japanese audio. But I should note that I'm also not an elitist when it comes to dubs versus subs.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would actually just like to say, like, the dubs seem to be pretty good on this one. They have a tendency often to be not that great, but in this case, I thought it was good. Although I've never seen it without dubs, so I don't know.
Okay, so dialogue, we're probably not going to go through that. So setting. The setting was pretty good. I think it had some nice touches with the underwater stuff. What do you guys think?
One aspect of the setting that I really liked was when he goes into her room and he sees all her art.
Yeah, that is nice.
When he penetrated into her private location, as we sometimes say.
because he couldn't find her, so he was really scared.
Yes, it's morally justified.
Was he wearing any protective? Was he wearing any protective equipment? And while he was doing the penetrating.
God, that's bad. Oh.
But
no.
So long as it was ribbed, anyway. Yeah, but anything. Well, in terms of the setting, any scene involving aquatic stuff seemed to be really good. And for the rest of it, it's like, we're in Osaka. Well done.
Yeah, it was passable. It was a workable setting. Yeah, I will give this story props. I mean, it does deliver on the kind of reveals that you want with a romance. The reveal of her artistic merit, I guess, so he's about to leave and quit the job, and it's revealed that she is very artistically inclined, and she actually has the same love of the sea that he does. That was nice. I mean, I think it does its reveals really well. It's just, again, there's some serious contrivances and points where it just really pushes the sentimentality, and it gets to be cloying. All right. So,
We
guys,
have an additional comment from Doughboy.
Excellent. They're always
who
good.
who says the beach scene worked on 3 levels. It was beautifully designed, added depth to one of the characters. She wanted to relive a moment with her deceased father, and progressed their relationship. And he says, "Thank you, Allison, for the compliment you just gave him," which I would like to just agree with. Absolutely, his comments are always worth reading.
Yep, they're always worth reading. Yeah, well, I mean, you are a folklorist, so we would expect. Yeah, and you deliver on a deep understanding of story. All right, so Noba Fan says, something to keep in mind with plot is East Asian stories use a 4-story structure.
Kisho Tenketsu.
Kisho Tenketsu, intro, development, twist, conclusion. Intro, development, twist, and conclusion.
The twist being, oh, now he's in the wheelchair, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. True. I don't think that's what I had a problem with. I think, again, it was just the contrivances. Like the being able to actually push a 150-pound electric wheelchair down which no doubt has its own brakes, like electric brakes, down a hill suddenly. That's just not going to happen. But like it is romance. Romance has contrivances, and I know exactly what you're saying, because it's more like an emotional climax rather than in the West. I think we like our plot-based climaxes, like plot reveals that have been steadily built up through foreshadowing, and it's a different kind of approach. All right, so with that said, I would like to thank the panelists, Doughboy, Godcat, and Telemnar, for joining for this discussion of Josie, the tiger, and the fish. And I'd like to thank all of you who have joined up on the special chat, because we only had a special chat today. And, yeah. I'll see you all in the next one when we stream again on this channel. Thanks for the compliments in the room. Really appreciated it. Let's see, who was it? Really Drix. Thank you. And for the shades, too. A lot of people really complain about them. This is the first time I've actually had a compliment. I actually wear them because I get migraines when I'm in front of light. So I have to make a choice. Do I wear the shades or do I turn off the lights? If I turn off the lights, it sort of looks like... Oh, very mysterious, huh? You can't see much. At least not of me. Okay. So anyway, have a good evening. Thank you for your kind attention. And hopefully